I could sell this for a lot of money.
I'm good! Let's go!
Now, the book of Proverbs is a list of sayings, and it's important to remember that these sayings are not promises. They're just sayings that are really focusing on the topic of wisdom, helping us answer the question, what kind of world am I living in? But also, what does it mean to live in this world well while following God?
So Proverbs teaches its wisdom in two main ways. First, as a father giving wisdom to his son.
Hey Dad, how you doing?
I'm good. Now son, don't do drugs, stay in school, and go get a job.
And second, as wisdom as if she were a lady, Lady Wisdom.
Wisdom.
So the Hebrew word for wisdom is CHOKMAH. And CHOKMAH is first and foremost an attribute of God. God is CHOKMAH, he knows CHOKMAH, and he has CHOKMAH.
CHOKMAH is something that God has made accessible to us. It's an amazing gift, and it's actually a tool for all of us to use to help carve and chisel out our life to making wise decisions. Wisdom is something that should not just be in your head. It should not just be head knowledge. It should be applied into your actions. One great example of this is actually Solomon enlisting artists to go into the temple to paint, to sculpt, and to sew various things to be put within the temple. And God describes that as people having CHOKMAH.
CHOKMAH!
So what if I'm good at money or budgeting?
Budgeting, spending, saving. CHOKMAH!
What if I'm good at making things with wood?
I could sell this for a lot of money.
CHOKMAH!
What if I'm better at making friends?
Hi friend! Hi friend! How are you? I'm good, how are you? I'm good! Let's go! CHOKMAH!
What if I'm good at making Nerf blasters in my basement?
CHOKMAH!
What if I'm not good at any skills, and I'm just really good at being honest?
Pretty much.
Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Let's go buy something.
Yeah, just open that up. Wait, do you think that's a little raw?
Nah.
Oh yeah, there she is. I'm gonna go give it to her. Hey ma'am! Hey ma'am!
Also CHOKMAH.
But what if I'm good at making friends, but I'm doing it in an unjust way?
Nope, that's not CHOKMAH. Remember, in order to be true wisdom, it has to have this foundation of God's definition of right and wrong. So for example, say you're really good at fixing fences. You could do the best job, and that could be considered CHOKMAH as a skill. But say you fix a fence, but then you kind of skimp out on the materials you use, and then it falls over, and then you run away. Not CHOKMAH, even if you did a good job on the fence in the first place. Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of an ox.
So what is this proverb saying? Is it telling you to have oxen or don't have oxen?
Not exactly. Instead, it's pointing out this pattern of CHOKMAH, and then we have to enter in and decide what we're going to choose. If I don't have any animals, they're not going to make a huge mess, and I'm not going to have a lot of work to clean things up.
But if you do have these animals or these oxen, they make a huge poopy mess, and it actually takes a lot of work to clean up. However, having these oxen will provide a huge abundance of harvest, and who wouldn't want to have a whole bunch of food for their family? So what we learn from this proverb is the idea of productivity, the idea of you get what you put in. So when we put in the hard work and do things that we may not want to do, sure, we may have to clean up a couple of poopy messes, but we find something a little bit more grateful, which is the harvest.
Now we get to decide. This is God's CHOKMAH. Do you want to do less work but not have as much of a harvest? Or do you want to put in more work and have a greater harvest? With this, we see that this is the way God's world tends to work. Remember, Proverbs is not a rule book, and it's not a book of promises. It's a wisdom book. And the point isn't to just memorize it and check it off your list. Yep, I do this one. Yep, I do this one. It's actually to keep seeking CHOKMAH and then applying it to your life.
So take Proverbs 26, verses 4 through 5, for example.
Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes.
They are both completely opposite verses from each other.
Think of it like a pocket full of change. You need to know what to pull out at the right time. In one situation, you might need a quarter, but in another, a dime and 2 pennies. So in the same way, we need CHOKMAH to know what proverb is relevant to your situation, and then also how to use it.
So this attribute of God requires us to interact with it. We have to become responsible and wise ourselves. And that's kind of the point. So get out there, look for CHOKMAH, and live a good life.
Yeah!
One more warning here. Sometimes we as humans are so eager, impatient even, in a good search that we become wise in our own eyes. We think that we have CHOKMAH, but really we are kind of deceiving ourselves and instead become the fool. The most important component of CHOKMAH is what we see repeated over and over and over again in the text, that the beginning of CHOKMAH is the fear of the Lord. Proverbs isn't just life hacking. It's seeking CHOKMAH and then humbling yourself before God, who has a vision of what is right and what is wrong. And that might be hard for us sometimes or inconvenient. True CHOKMAH is to realize that I don't determine what is right and what is wrong, but rather I choose whether I want to align with God's definition or my own. So how do we make sure we're not being impatient or deceiving ourselves, wise in our own eyes, but are instead fearing the Lord? When I was in high school, I would get up at 7 and leave the house and not be back till 11 almost every single day of the week. Had my schedule booked out with school, dual enrolling, with sports, with friends, with dance, with youth group, all these good things. And I honestly believed that I was getting the most out of life, that I was being productive. I thought I was living out the oxen proverb. But what I didn't realize till later was even though I was pursuing productivity, I was doing it at the cost of not spending any time with my family at all. I wasn't honoring family events that my mom wanted me to come to. I wasn't getting the rest that I needed. All things that are huge values to God. Honoring your father and mother, loving others, honoring God that He designed us for rest. And I paid the natural consequences of not fearing the Lord in that particular area of my life. I lost a lot of valuable relational time with my family that last summer of high school. I made things difficult for my mom especially, and I learned this pattern of getting burnt out really quickly. At the end of the day, I have to respect and fear that God's perspective, all of it, not just the parts that I like or are convenient, but all of it is what I'm looking for and what I want to uphold. So true CHOKMAH is less about what you're doing or what the skill is, and way more about how you do it. Are you being honest? Do you have integrity? Are you being generous or living out the fruits of the Spirit, imitating the character of Jesus? And that is the fear of the Lord, and the fear of the Lord is always the beginning of CHOKMAH.
I could sell this for a lot of money. Dang it. CHOKMAH! CHOKMAH!
You've looked at me in this entire recording.
I've been
though.
looking at you the whole
No,
time.
you haven't been looking at this. You're like, CHOKMAH.
I'm looking at you
CHOKMAH.
when you're asking the question. You're
CHOKMAH.
showing off for the camera now.
Even more aggressively.
CHOKMAH!